Hey everybody, in this video we're going to do a demonstration of Aruba Clearpass using dot1x wired config. And here's the layout right here. We've got Clearpass here, 10.150.5.20 sitting off of this switch, which will be our switch that we're going to set up dot1x wired. And this Windows system, which is right here, this is a Windows 10 system. We're going to connect this into the switch and it will authenticate. Now, one of the first steps we're going to do is make sure that we have wired auto config set up on this client. So normally it's going to be set into manual mode. Now we can do this through Active Directory, through group policy. Right now we're just going to start it up. And what this will do, this wired auto config, this will give us on the actual NIC, if we go into change adapter options, if we right click properties of the Ethernet port, you can see authentication tab. If you have wired dot1x off, you won't see this authentication tab. So the settings in here are going to be pretty simple. We're going to want to make sure it says EAP, PEAP. So go into here, verify the server's identity. We can do that as long as we have the test Eve. We're going to use that one. So make sure that's clicked, test Eve root CA. You could also uncheck that if you don't trust the server's identity. We've uploaded the test Eve certificate to this server, and I can show you where that is. Secured password, click in there, configure, make sure this is checked automatically. Use my Windows login name and password. Make sure that's checked also. And really that's the only setup we need to do for this, for the client side. So let's go onto Aruba and let's take a look at this server. So we have a service set up, the test one, test Eve wired dot1x. What I want to do is I want to go through and set this up from the beginning. Well, let's first go into administration, server configuration, ClearPass, and let's take a look at that this is joined to an AD domain, right? We've joined this to test Eve. You would do it right here. You can just join it right into test Eve to your domain right in this setup, and you're going to want to do that. Let's look at policy server. Looks fine. There's the machine authentication cache timeout. That's how long it will cache the machine authentication. Let's go to, I want to see the configuration for the AD domain. Let's see where that is. So these are all the services that are running. Because I did have to make a change to this. Let me just make sure. Okay, so I joined it to the domain. Oh, I think, okay, so that's under configuration. So if we go here to configuration and our authentication sources, let's take a look at our sources. So test Eve AD is added as a source. It's Active Directory. Let's go through the setup of this. So basically what you're going to want to put in is a host name, connection security, which is none right now. Let's see if we can change that during this setup, because I'd rather have it be more secure. So let's go to General, Test Eve AD, Active Directory, enable to use this authentication source to also fetch role mapping. Yeah, that's fine. And that looks good. So primary. connection security. Let's try this AD over SSL. Now that we've added, we do have a CA. So a CA has been added in this mix. So we should have the Win server, the domain controller. Let's double check this. But the domain controller should now have a cert and should be able to authenticate 630 on 636. Let's double check. Close that. Let's do manage. Let's just type certificates and manage computer certificates. Okay, that's odd. MMC dot exe. Let's run that. All right, let's try to get in here this way. Wait for that to load. Okay, that's taking some time. All right, so what we want to do is, so we have the switch, we have ClearPass. Let's go back to ClearPass. I think we can test this. Is there a way to test this? The base DN is important. So earlier I had my base DN set to users, the OU set to OU equals users, DC equals testeve, DC equals lab, and I was trying to troubleshoot why the computer authentication wasn't working. And obviously the computers are not in the users OU, so that was why. So I had to lower this, and then this just does a search of the entire AD. Okay. Attributes. Let's save this. Say not now for that. Let's save this. And so we can make sure this works just by logging into this switch. It's using TACAX, but it should be using the same connection to AD. So I think that is working. We can double check. We can look at the, okay, so that's using TACAX to get in there into this switch. And that's something we set up earlier in another video. There's another. All right, let's see what's going on. So now if we go to monitoring, access tracker, we should see TACAX, request, compute, make sure it's going to the right service, policies, user authenticated. Yeah, okay. So that looks good. That looks like it's working. Testeve AD. Looks like it just checked. So, all right. So I think we're now using a secure method under configuration. So that's under sources, authentication sources. You want to make sure you have your AD set up in here, and you're just going to set it up like this. So general, you go to primary and attributes. All right. So that's good. So that's set up. Everything looks good there. We're able to get into the switch. We have this. We have the Windows client set up. I don't know what's going on over here. C.exe. I just wanted to check the certificates on here, which seem to be working, but I do want to check it just to show you that there is a certificate. Local computer, okay. We should see it in the personal store. There is a DC one. So this has been given out. Kerberos, directory, domain controller, authentication. All right, so that's good. That's why we can use LDAP over SSL. So make sure that that's done. If you're using 636 here, if you're using LDAP over SSL in the source, you're going to have to make sure you have a certificate set up. And make sure you have an Active Directory. If you have an Active Directory integrated certificate services set up, then you should have this already. So shouldn't be a problem. This is more secure. Make sure you do that. You can also verify the server certificate. And we do trust. So let's see, if we go to here, certificate store, this has a signed certificate from our root CA. And also in the trust list, it trusts testeve root. So that's already set up. All right, so this has been the first video of the Aruba dot1x wired computer authentication. And in the next video, we'll get into actually setting up the Aruba configuration, getting the service set up, and then testing some of it. All right, thank you for watching. I hope this has been enjoyable.